Hello everyone, welcome to today's review of one of our favorite all-you-can-eat buffets in one of our favorite hotel casinos on the Strip. When you arrive at this hotel, you'll feel as though you entered the world's largest Faberge Egg, opulent, meticulously crafted, and far from anything one might expect. And this opulence extends right into the buffet. It's nothing like any standard buffet you've ever experienced. The decor is breathtaking, with an elegance that seems to shimmer in every corner. It's a place where luxury doesn't whisper, it makes a bold statement. Imagine this, towering mountains of lobster claws and crab legs, each delicately split for easy access, stacked high as if reaching for the heavens. Then there's the prime rib, tender, savory, and as perfectly seasoned as anything you could hope for. It's not just food, it's an experience, a pilgrimage for those who love to eat well and often. Buffets in Las Vegas used to be as common as slot machines, but these days, only a select few stand out. The number of buffets may have faded, but some of the high-end resorts still offer a lavish all-you-can-eat experience. A little forewarning, you'll need to buckle up for today's review. It's a culinary roller coaster ride, evoking a gamut of emotions. At the end, given a chance to catch our breath, I'll assess if it's worth the $74.99 price tag. Okay, let's get started. Mongolian beef is one of those dishes that makes me nervous. It's easy to overdo it, drowning the beef in sugar until it tastes like candy. But not here. Kudos to the chef at Wynn's Buffet, who nails it. The beef, tender and full of that beautiful wok flavor, carries the perfect balance of char, just enough to give it depth without going overboard. The addition of crisp green beans and vibrant yellow and red bell peppers brings an unexpected freshness to the dish. Last time I was here, this was a letdown, sickeningly sweet and missing the smoky edge that makes Mongolian beef stand out. But not this time. The beef is excellent, and the sauce is a masterful blend of soy, white pepper, black pepper, and a judicious touch of sugar, making it one of the best versions I've had in a while. The honey walnut shrimp. Well, for flavor a 10, for texture a 3. The shrimp themselves are solid, good size, plump, and juicy. But the batter? Well, that's a different story. It's a strange, gummy shell that comes from the all too familiar combination of cornstarch and egg. There's no crunch, no satisfying crisp. It just sticks to your teeth and doesn't let go. The batter needs a little flour, something to balance out the cornstarch and give it that golden, crispy finish it and I desperately crave. The real star here is the sauce. A harmonious blend of mayonnaise, sweetened condensed milk, and honey, perfectly balanced to bring a rich, creamy sweetness that coats the shrimp like a warm blanket. It's the one thing they get right every time I've been here. Unfortunately, this dish as a whole tastes exactly as it always does here, which in this case isn't a good thing. Consistency can be a negative when it's consistently mediocre. It's a dish that promises much, delivers little, and leaves you wondering how something so simple could go so wrong. It's hard to be disappointed at a buffet that consistently delivers on the star attractions such as this tenderloin. There's something almost sacred about that cut of beef, each slice bursting with savory richness. Its charred crust a testament to its careful roasting. The chimichurri sauce, vibrant with tang and a touch of heat, cuts through the tender beef with a finesse that shows you the kitchen knows exactly what they're doing. The ribs, which today were char siu with a Western barbecue twist, left me conflicted. The char siu, rich and sticky, was out of balance. The 5-spice, heavy-handed with cinnamon to the point where it almost overtook the other flavors. If this were meant to be a marriage of East and West, well, it felt more like a blind date gone wrong rather than a smooth fusion. The barbecue sauce on top didn't do enough to balance the sweetness of the char siu, leaving me wishing for a more traditional Western take that would have let the meat speak for itself. The chicken salad is fine. Nothing to write home about unless your home is a land of the bland. It's basically just a glorified filler to keep your stomach from rumbling. So unless you're desperate for something to chew on, I'd give it a pass. The butternut squash salad is a cute nod to fall, but don't expect any fireworks. It's a bit of a missed opportunity. Swap that arugula for some creamy goat cheese and it might actually be worth screaming about. Clearly, someone rushed these salads together so they could check off the salads for the day box on today's to-do list. As for the Caesar, when it's fresh, it's a winner. Sadly, this one's past its prime. I think it gave up the ghost about an hour ago, as the lettuce is soggy and wilted. Still, the dressing's on point, so there's that. At this seafood buffet, there's a timeless allure in the shrimp. Plump, tender, and cooked to that perfect, just right bite. Today, though, is a slight shift. They're a bit more diminutive than usual, shrinking down like your favorite pair of jeans. But the taste, as vivid and satisfying as ever. We started with a remoulade, a classic, creamy with just the right balance to offset the shrimp's sweetness. Then there's the cocktail sauce, sharp and bracing. It's horseradish, a welcome jolt of boldness that cuts through the richness. I have to say, these shrimp are superb. I could make a meal of them alone. You'll fall for them too. The caviar? Well, let's just say it's thoroughly underwhelming. Every time I've been here, the caviar has been of different varieties and served differently. But each time, the caviar has been of low quality, and so no matter how you serve it, it disappoints. Today was no different. Uninspiring, as thrilling as finding out your flight's been delayed. Just a small step up from sheer disappointment. Now, the lobster salad on this baguette, solid, big, tasty chunks of fresh, sweet lobster that actually make you feel like you're eating something luxurious. The salmon roe bellinis are fine. On the bright side, the bellinis are fresh and homemade, but the roe, well, there's something a little too fishy here. It tastes like it's a little past its prime. As for the smoked salmon and caviar combo, well, yet again, the caviar tastes overly fishy and off-putting. Not good, not good. I applaud their attempt to include caviar, but I think they'd be better served putting their energies into one of their other dishes. At this buffet, the crab legs are amazing. Nothing short of a minor miracle. They've got it figured out for your convenience. The legs are split in half, meaning no more battling with the shell, no more need for band-aids or a quick trip to urgent care, no more awkward maneuvering with forks and tongs to free the tender sweet crab meat. It slides right out with a luxurious ease. The flavor, so fresh, it's almost startling, like the ocean is still clinging to every bite. Paired with that decadent melted butter, it's a perfect marriage of sweetness and richness. And the lobster? I didn't even bother with the cracker. I was too busy diving into the meat, letting it tumble out of the shell as though it were just waiting for me to show up. No trace of frozen taste here, just that pure, clean, briny sweetness that makes you believe in love at first bite. The few chunks I could wrestle from the claws were totally worth the effort. Sure, it's messy, but when lobster's this good, you're praying your dry cleaner has a sense of humor. And when you get home, you know your dogs will find you irresistible. These little gnocchi stand proudly in the buffet line. They look cute, but don't let their innocent appearance fool you. They're a slap in the face to Nona and her rolling pin. So bland, it's a total insult to the concept of flavor. As for the pumpkin ravioli, let's call it what it really is. A mashed yam in disguise, sitting comfortably on top of more mashed yam, all garnished with raisins. If you were looking for a fall-themed food adventure, congratulations, you just landed in a sad, overcooked corner of Thanksgiving dinner. But then, in a surprising twist, the short rib. It's as though someone remembered what they were doing in the kitchen. Tender, slow-cooked to perfection, seasoned like a chef with a purpose, and drizzled with a savory sauce that's more than just a distraction. And the mashed potatoes underneath? Creamy, indulgent, everything you want in mashed potatoes. But just when you thought it couldn't get better, you were right. It didn't. Someone decides to pipe sweet potato on top like it's a birthday cake decoration. Sweet potato? Folks, a garnish for short ribs? Whoever thought this was a good idea clearly missed the memo. I'd recommend a demotion, or at the very least, a refresher course on the entire concept of garnish. At first glance, this seafood risotto promises a feast for the senses. And it delivers. Each bite is a journey into a world of briny, oceanic flavors, where fresh lobster takes center stage. The richness of the shellfish penetrates every grain of perfectly cooked rice, its sweetness woven into a luxurious, saffron-infused sauce. It's an artful balance between decadence and subtlety. The golden hue of saffron, wrapping the dish in warmth while the seafood provides a fresh, briny contrast. This isn't just food, it's an experience, one that you'll lose yourself in with every spoonful. It's undeniably one of the standouts of the buffet. Bold, indulgent, and impeccably executed. You can almost imagine the crashing waves with every bite. At first glance, the egg rolls here could be found at any Vegas buffet or in every small town restaurant across the country. There's nothing to set them apart, just a typical crispy exterior and somewhat lackluster filling. The gyoza, stuffed with pork, garlic chives, and a liberal dose of garlic, has the potential for richness and that satisfying greasy bite, but you can do better than this elsewhere in Chinatown, where dim sum shines much brighter. But here's the twist, the shumai. These dumplings are the standouts, transcending the usual offerings with their impeccable filling. A perfect balance of shrimp, seasoned just enough with garlic and sesame oil. This is the dim sum you came here for, worthy of every bite. The chive dumplings, though, not so much. I'm a huge fan of chive dumplings. But these aren't even close to the best in town. Very bland, nothing special. The dip in the sriracha sauce adds a bit of zest to make them palatable, but I wouldn't fill up on them. Skip the filler and go straight for the shumai. That's where the real flavor is. You'll find the seafood broil here is more reminiscent of what you'd see at a hastily thrown together buffet than an elegant, top-notch establishment. The dish comes with all the promise of a coastal feast, but the reality falls far short. A surprising number of tables are devoid of this dish, the telltale signs of a poorly received creation. No one seems to be eating it, and I can see why. The fish, overcooked, dry, and lacking that briny freshness you hope for in a seafood dish. As for the lobster, here's a promo. Look at this one. When you crack it open, the lobster's nowhere to be found. I guess even the lobster knew better than to attach itself to this broil. The crab, even a bigger disappointment. Just slightly cracked, you'll find yourself fighting with the shell, hoping not to injure yourself in the process. And once you finally manage to free the meat, it's far from the sweet, delicate bite you'd expect. Overcooked, flavorless. The mussels, dry and unremarkable, play their part in the mediocrity of this broil, mirroring the lackluster performance of the entire dish. I've been to this buffet several times, and the seafood broil has been very good, but that was not the case today. Look at this beautiful crust. It's all about the crust. A thick, luxurious layer of salt and cracked black pepper that flakes off like shards of broken glass, each bite delivering a sharp, satisfying crunch. But the texture is just the beginning. The prime rib is rich with fat, marbled perfectly throughout, providing that deep, almost savory richness that only a prime rib can offer. It's not just tender, it literally melts in your mouth, requiring just the faintest effort of chewing. There's an intensity to the umami here that's just downright mesmerizing, a flavor that lingers on the tongue, urging you to come back for more. And believe me, I did. And there's no need for au jus today. The meat is very juicy, so wonderfully moist, that it holds its own. It's rare to find a cut that can stand proudly without a sauce to mask its quality, but this prime rib does it effortlessly. I won't promise you that it's always like this. I've had days here where the prime rib didn't rise to this level, but today it's perfect. 2 different prime ribs have been brought out, and both are an ideal shade of rare. If you want it charred beyond recognition, fear not, the grill is ready and waiting to fulfill your wishes. In the world of Las Vegas buffets, the prime rib is often regarded as the star of the show. And even though this is a seafood buffet, this prime rib reigns supreme and steals the spotlight. The grade of beef is phenomenal, but what really makes this prime rib stand out is the seasoning and the care taken in its preparation. This is no ordinary buffet dish. It's a true triumph of meat. If, like me, you're a prime rib lover, then this prime rib alone makes the price of admission seem a bargain. If I weren't here as a reviewer, by the end of the meal, I'd be on a first-name basis with the beef carvers. Oh, what a fall from grace. From the stratospheric heights of the prime rib to the tragedy that is this seafood trio. The salmon, well, it's clearly been through a rough journey. It obviously missed the last train to Flavortown, and now it's here, dry as a Nevada desert and as bland as a cardboard box. The sea bass, it's as if someone were asked to define the word expired and chose sea bass as their muse. It's so off, I'm thinking it's been stored in a time capsule. As for the stuffed sole, well, it's the best of a bad bunch, but that's not saying much. It's decent, but if you're looking for typical Wynn level culinary standards, this ain't it, kid. So, we decided to try a number of dishes from the so-called Mexican station. Chicken enchilada, empanadas, adobo chicken, and chips with chipotle salsa. Well, what a mistake. This station should post a message.
Warning, this Mexican food is not for eating. It's for laying down and avoiding. It's merely meant to take up available space. If authentic, tasty Mexican food is what you seek, sorry, there's none to be found here.
Honestly, this really is the case with most of the upscale strip buffets with regard to their attempt at Mexican food. It's too bad the Wynn didn't use this space for something more interesting, like more prime rib. Or maybe there could be no food, but simply a radio tuned to a Mexican station for your listening pleasure. Okay, enough said. Let's move on to something different. The yo gratin potatoes here,
C'est magnifique.
you won't want to stop once you start. They're the kind of dish that turns indulgence from a fleeting moment to a pastime. The truffle infusion gives it a subtle yet unmistakable luxury, though it's the butter and cream that will lure you in, rich and velvety, like a hug for your taste buds. They're heavy in the best way, just decadent enough to make you wonder if you can sneak one more bite. Then there's the mac and cheese, which, truthfully, lands with a bit of a thud. It's the kind of dish that you know well, but it offers little beyond what you'd expect from a box of comfort. And then there's the truffle. Turns out, it's just a porcini mushroom, masquerading as something it's not. No truffle depth here. The barbecue Carolina chicken, unfortunately, falls into the same uninspiring territory. The sauce is spot on, tangy, smoky, sweet, but the chicken itself lacks the one thing you crave from a proper barbecue dish, a deep, lingering, smoky flavor. Instead, it's bland, another missed opportunity. And finally, the pretzel bread. On its good days, it's stellar, with that perfect balance of salty crunch and a soft, pillowy interior. But today, it feels more like yesterday's leftovers. Still good, just not quite as glorious as I've had here before. Finally, I always look forward to the desserts at the Wynn buffets. The coconut chocolate cookies are wonderful. Perfect marriage of toasted coconut and rich chocolate that would happily take center stage at any dessert table. There's a warmth to the toasted coconut that adds depth and complexity. A perfect balance that invites you to go back for one more. I'd eat these cookies anytime, no hesitation. And then there's the toffee cookie, one of the standouts. There's a reason why they're a favorite. They're bursting with flavor, rich and perfectly balanced. They taste fresh made with that irresistible, comforting sweetness that makes you want to sneak a few home without anyone noticing. Simply put, one of the best cookies you'll find anywhere in this town. And don't tell anyone, but I did lift a few of these for coffee dunking the next morning. Then there's the coconut meringue tart. It's a notable attempt, but ultimately it misses the mark. What's supposed to be a light, airy experience becomes a bit of a disappointment, dry and mealy, like a macaroon stuffed inside a pastry shell. It's overly sweet and drowns out the delicate texture of the meringue. leaving behind a sense of wasted potential. A shame, really, because the meringue itself could have been a lovely addition if handled differently. The lava cake, while decadent in flavor, doesn't quite live up to its molten promise. The center, instead of flowing like a rich, velvety river of chocolate, is more like a dense, dry mass. However, the cake itself is a triumph. Moist and rich, with a deep, satisfying chocolate flavor that lingers long after the last bite. It's a little too dry in the middle, but the surrounding cake more than makes up for it. At the second dessert plate, there's a range of sweet notes to play off one another, though not all are worthy of a standing ovation. Let's start with the tiramisu. What a turnaround. The last time I was here, it was a soggy, sad affair. But now, it's a delicate, airy dream. The coffee flavor is light, just enough to complement the mascarpone cheese without overwhelming it. A subtle shift that shows a real commitment to improvement. The little orange cake, a delightful surprise, sitting in a vibrant sauce of passion fruit and mango. It's a bright burst that cuts through the richness of the rest, making it a welcome addition. The creme brulee, though, while decent, is far from thrilling. There was a time when buffets served the kind of creme brulee that would elevate a meal, but those days are long past. Today, creme brulee has become a soulless tin of custard, tepidly charred on top by an overly cautious employee petrified to overuse the torch. This one is solid in flavor, but leaves no real lasting impression. The chocolate banana cones are a bit of a letdown compared to previous renditions. I'll never forget when they used to do them with a s'mores twist, which was a stroke of genius. These days, the recipe change feels less like evolution and more like unsupervised experimentation. As for the orange chocolate cake, pretty on the plate, sure, but does it knock your socks off? Not really. It's a safe choice, adding a bit of flair to the Wynn's ever-expanding dessert spread, but nothing extraordinary, just another sweet distraction in a parade of sweets. Finally, we tried a number of ice creams as well. The cookie dough was a highlight, but other than that, it was fairly standard fare. Nothing compared to the excellent ice creams I had at the Wicked Spoon. So, what are we to make of this experience? First, I hope this didn't come off overly negative. Yes, there were a number of dishes I didn't like, but those were, for the most part, the supporting cast. The stars of any buffet, the prime rib, shrimp, crab legs, lobster, all were excellent, and what drew me back again and again. The only star of the show dish, which was a letdown today, was the seafood broil. I mean, do I come to the Wynn Buffet excited to try their Mexican food, dim sum, or sushi? No. I'll give some of those foods a go, yes, and if something is unusually good, well, great. But I'm here for the big ticket items, and for the most part, the Wynn delivers on those. Really, the biggest letdown was the desserts. For me, this is one of the elements of the meal which I dream about and am excited to try. But this time, there were fewer dishes of that magnitude than in prior visits. So, is the Wynn Buffet worth the price of admission? I say yes. While the Wynn didn't put its best foot forward today, just the prime rib alone was enough for me to feel I got my money's worth. Overall, there's no shortage of offerings and sheer variety is impressive. Yet for all those options, I find myself drawn to the few standouts rather than the overabundance of dishes that are merely adequate or less. The Wynn Buffet offers many solid gems, although I feel it could benefit from focusing more on quality than quantity. But when you add in the other excellent items and today's prices on the Vegas Strip, the Wynn Buffet is worth it, and I'm looking forward to my next visit. We'll be back soon. Who knows? Maybe you'll see us there. And don't forget to tell them, Let's Eat Vegas sent you. Join us next Friday, January 10th, 2025, when we review yet another great Chinese restaurant in what locals are calling our second Chinatown. You won't want to miss it. This might be a good time to hit the notifications bell so you get a reminder when the new review becomes available. And of course, it's always a good time to like, subscribe, comment, or share. It helps us grow and to bring you more reviews. Until we eat again, bon appetit!